Seconds. Yo, welcome into the DFS version of the Fantasy BS show. Today is September 29th. It's Friday. We're doing the DFS version. Guys, I want to tell you, we've become true content creators because we've got someone so dedicated right now. He's doing this on his vacation. So how's Steamboat Springs treating you, Cassidy?
Pretty good. I don't know if you guys can see this. I got peak Aspens at the resort behind me here, so not a bad time to be in the mountains of Colorado.
Nice. You chilling up there with your girl? Just come up there with some boys?
Chilling with the girl.
Nice, man. Well, hopefully you guys enjoy it. So we'll just kind of get at this because I know you want to get back to vacation here. But first thing, let's recap last week with kind of the questions you want to go. So let's talk about podium last week. Who was on podium?
That's right. Last week's podium in week 3 of our DFS contest, we have my boy Adam, AK Chronic, taking the top spot, number 1. Woo! It's good. We've seen that a revolving spot. We have not had a repeat number 1 yet. But Tim, number 2, he has podiumed every single week. So really proud of our boy Tim Ho. And then number 3, W. Cassidy Hill. I made it onto the stand. That's good. So Adam, Tim, and Cassidy representing.
You know what? I got to give you props because, we were talking last call and you're like, I haven't podiumed in a while. I'm absolutely doing it this week. So you put your money where your mouth was. Killer job, man. But so those podium players, so who kind of was the play of the week that got them there?
Anybody that played Moster or A-Chain got onto that podium. Pretty much like I was talking about this in the last podcast, and I think this will be a good spark for future conversations. But when you see those high over-unders, you want to kind of stack in those games because when those games hit, you kind of don't want to be off of that because you're gonna lose out on these players that are really like going to help you cash in. So pretty much any of those Vikings or Dolphins players. But for the value, Moster and A-Chain were really cheap and they put up massive points. But I also brought up my boy Tank Dell as a punt play at 3,600 and he got 30 points. So that was, that was a 9X on your salary. So when you can get a $3,600 player and they go off like that, that's going to help you out a lot. And then just one last little note from last week. If you didn't play the Bills DSC at 2,900, they put up 30 points. And if you tried to get cute and not play that, it seemed like an obvious value. But if you tried to get off of that, you lost out.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I got my first taste of DFS, like from thinking I'm doing good and really realizing that I'm not when you play in these leagues. So what I love about this podcast is you're a seasoned vet. I'm a brand new rookie at this. So I had Tua in there. I had Hill in there. I'm watching him go off. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm crushing this thing. I pop it up and I'm like, oh, that's right. Everybody's got these players in their lineup. So, one question I'll ask on that one from a rookie standpoint is when I go in there and I look and I say, I'm targeting the highest game of the week. And, whatever that projected score is, there's so many people targeting that. And what I'm starting to realize when I look in the app, we're all targeting the same thing. And from my analytical side, I'm like, you know what? I want to avoid that game and try to get players that aren't in that game. And I don't even know what the hell I'm doing, Cassidy. Tell me, am I thinking right? Should I even be thinking that? Or just walk me through that. I feel like an idiot right now.
Well, you kind of bring up an interesting conversation, which is really, you got to look at this whether you're playing a large field or a small field tournament. And in our little DFS, Fantasy Sickos Slack DFS, that's a small field. Treat that as cash. So you don't really want to get too cute. In a large field tournament, when people are submitting 150 lineups and there's thousands of people playing, that's who we want to try to get really, really different. But for our purposes, what we're doing here, a lot of times if you get cute, you're just going to miss out. Like last week, for example, if you tried to get off that Dolphins and Vikings game, you missed. Now, even though you had some pieces in that game, you just didn't stack it properly. Like, I didn't see your lineup, but if you did the bring back the stack like I've been talking about, like if you put in Herbert or Tua and then Hill or Jefferson, and then you brought it back with the right player, like even Addison worked out, or not Addison. Well, he did okay, but Madison, that even worked out. So if you have the right pieces, that's going to work. If you tried to get cute and get off and play some of these other games, they really failed. So I think like this week, you're looking at that. You're looking at the Dolphins-Bills game, and yeah, it's going to be a hot topic. People are going to be on that. But if you don't play a couple pieces in that game, you're in serious danger of losing out.
And that's kind of what I felt last week. And, I didn't bring back the stack when I kind of went for that high scoring game because I went from that contrarian viewpoint and it hurt me. And I don't know what the right way is, but, I will tell you, we did forget to mention one thing. Our other co-host isn't on here, Smitty. He just got lazy today or something. I don't know. The wife made him work. But, when he's not here, we're going to have a nice picture of Bruce Springsteen's ass back there just for Smitty to kick it in the show. But so onto the topic, back to there. Sorry about the joke. But when we talk, a lot of people on this Miami Bills game. So one of my notes that I want to ask you on here is, do we ride Achan or Achan, whatever it is? We'll go. It's Achan now, right?
It's Achan. Wait,
okay.
I don't know how to say it right. It's Achan.
Achan. Okay, so we'll go with Achan on that one. So are you going to just fire him in again? Are you going to fire Mostert? Are you going to pick the one that's just cheaper between the two? Like, how much fire do you want to play with after a game like that?
I want to say Achan so bad. I think Mostert is the stronger play. He's clearly the lead in that backfield. We saw this explosion from Achane. It's hard to keep your hands off of him, but we don't really know the truth of what he is. So to go back to what I was saying before, if I was in a large field tournament, I'd be throwing Achane in there to get different and to take that Hail Mary at the fence. In a cash tournament like what we're doing here, I think Mostert is a stronger play. Or I might even try to get off of him and play James Cook on the other side because he's got a similar projection, and I think people are going to be less on him.
I like that take. And, we'll talk about the bet that we kind of made we're going to do moving forward. It's going to be quite interesting because every single thing you're telling me right now, I did the exact opposite on for the bet that we're kind of doing right here. So we're going to find out, who's right or wrong on that one. The other thing that I want to think about is, are you willing to fire Justin Fields up in a lineup this week with the matchup of a defense giving up 70 points? And you're a Denver fan, so you tell me, do you think you can contain Justin Fields from what you've seen?
No, I'm absolutely not going to do that. I'm totally off of him. I would go the other way. Again, I think Russell Wilson at 5,800 projects really well this week.
Yeah, I really wanted to try to go to Justin Fields, and like every lineup I said, I was trying to mess around with them, and it's like I kept wanting to just with that defense, and I'm like, you know what? I'm on he's got to prove it to me kind of before we look at that. So when we look at things, so let's talk a little bit about our bet. We're going to do a water bet every single week, Cassidy. Okay. So we haven't even talked to Smitty about this. So I figure he's just going to join in because it's two against one now. But we're going to read off our lineups, and we're going to go off of whoever finishes last in here loses the water bet. And the reason that I want to do this is I know that we're going to let people know what our lineups are before the game's set. We're trying to help them. That's why we did this podcast anyway, and learn. But I know myself, I'm analytical. Unless there's something like the $5 and $3 doesn't make me take this as serious as I want to. But throwing a thing of water on my face and losing my pride is going to make me analyze how I set my lineups so much more. And I think it'll be fun in here. So when we look at our lineups, let's pull it up right here. So let's start with quarterbacks. Who is your quarterback in your lineup this week that you're playing?
I'm going to go with Brock Purdy, and I think he's got a tremendous value. I'm actually not seeing his price here right now. I think he was like 5,200 or 5,800. Great value. He's got a really high floor. He doesn't have the same ceiling as some of those other more expensive quarterbacks, but he's kind of felt like the key to open up the rest of my lineup.
I wanted to choose Brock Purdy so bad, and I'm just looking at him like, you know what? He's going against my Cardinals. My Cardinals, I don't even know what I want out of them this year, but I just know they're going to break my heart one way or another, and I don't want it to be a DFS. It's kind of what I chose. So, maybe my Cardinals show up a little bit, but I took the quarterback who looks like he's going to throw for a lot of touchdowns this year, and I'm going Herbert. I'm going to kind of start building that play into Herbert right there for $7,800. So I bought up for quarterback a little bit there. You went a little bit cheaper. Who did you go with for your two RBs?
All right. So kind of like we talked about a second ago, I'm going to start James Cook. I think at 6,300, he projects really, really well. He has elite usage. He hasn't found the end zone yet. Maybe he finds it this week. And too bad Smitty's not here because I actually think that Smitty's boy, DeAndre Swift, is the cash lock of the week. He's $5,700. His usage is incredible. He's going up against the hapless Washington Commanders. I think Philadelphia wipes the floor with that team, and they're going to be feeding that kid. So I love it at $5,700.
I immediately when you just told me that, wish my next selection was DeAndre Swift right now. I did. So hold on, you went DeAndre Swift. Who was your second?
James Cook.
James Cook. Okay, so I like that. So I started attacking the Miami Buffalo, and I'm gonna ride the fire a little bit. I'm going with Achan a little bit, and I'm going with him at 5,700. And your compelling argument with Swift, I just realized I think that's a better play than Achan. So I think you're going to beat me there. I went with a really cheap floor play for my other RB because I build elsewhere. I went with Jerome Ford at $5,400. We'll see if Deshaun Watson plays. Who knows? But you know what? I'm firing him there. I wanted a cheap running back. So who are you got for your three wide receivers?
Yeah, no problem. You know, Achan obviously has a higher ceiling, so if that hits, you're gonna be cleaning up. You know, so it's just DeAndre Swift is safer. That's all. Okay, so here's where I started to attack that game. So for my three wide receivers, I have Stephon Diggs, and I'm going to bring it back with Jalen Waddle. Okay, so the three pieces I have in that game, and so I guess this is kind of like I'm saying that that Buffalo's going to handle this game. I've got Diggs and Cook, right, and I'm bringing it back with Waddle, who's kind of like a discount Tyreek this week. And then my third is Tank Dell. Tank Dell still, you know, I think he's heating up. I don't think we've seen the best out of him, although he's been great. But he's $4,600, and I think that, you know, that's a pretty high upside play for only $4,600.
I love it. I was going back and forth on Waddle. I will tell you that I built mini lineups staying away from Hill and trying to get Waddle in there because he's going to have a coming out party at some point, and why not this week, right? I mean,
yeah,
he's rested, off his concussion, he's going to play. But what I kind of did with my wide receivers is now I started to build my stack up a little bit. So I'm going Keenan Allen at $7,900 for my wide receiver one. If anyone sees my DFS lineups or any lineup I have in general, I've rolled out Zay Flowers almost every single week. Everything, it's going to happen. He's going to explode. I don't know when it is, but I'm not going to let that have a 80-yard touchdown on my bench. I'm firing him in there for 5,600. I'm in absolute agreement. Our boy Tank Dell is just heating up. $4,600, sign me up for Tank Dell. So, you know, I like how we're attacking things a little differently. I just had to build a Herbert Allen stack. I think there's a lot of passing to go around right now. So let's talk tight end then. Who are you building for your tight end?
Yeah, this one seemed like the strongest play on the slate to me. I already told you I'm firing up Brock Purdy as my quarterback. My tight end is George Kittle. Yeah. That's the clear stack. So what I'm saying is you're kind of looking at game theory, and what I'm saying is that the 49ers, they handle the Cardinals. And by saying that, I'm saying like I don't see a piece on the Cardinals that I need to bring that back. I think that Purdy and Kittle can get there on their own. And he was, I'll tell you here in a second, I think he's 5,100. Yeah, that's as cheap as you're ever going to see George Kittle. So he's in my lineup.
I feel like you're teaching class today, Cassidy, because this is exactly why I want to do it, so I could learn a little bit more. I'm sticking with the Chargers game. I'm throwing Everett right into my lineup. I'm just going to stack it. I'm going to get the 3 stack on there and just say if the offense goes off, it goes off. But there's targets for somebody else. And you know what? I don't think Parham is going to be a thing unless he's just going to score a bunch of touchdowns and have a Mike Evans year where he gets 10 touchdowns, all 1 yards. So I love what you're doing. Cardinals suck against tight ends. They always have. I'm really jealous of your lineup, man. I feel bad. Who are you flexing? Now I feel bad about my flex. So who's your flex right now?
Don't worry about that. The flex is a little bit of a weak spot, but the flex is a good point for me to talk about this week's my DFS tip of the week. I'm going to try and give you guys a tip every single week. So let's see if I can come up with, 18 different things. I don't know. But my tip this week is to inject volatility into your lineup. And I've told you guys this before, but when you pay down at somebody, if they fail, it's not really going to hurt you. It's what you took that money and where else you spent it in your lineup. If those expensive pieces fail, that's going to hurt you. But, if you're spending $3,000, $4,000 and they miss, you're looking for 2-3x salary. So what? You might miss out on sticks, 8, 10 points. That's not going to make or break you at the end of the day. And so where I'm going with this is you could have looked at, say, somebody like Robert Woods, $4,300. This is a full PPR site. That feels really safe, right? Good floor. But for $3,900, you could put in Marvin Mims going up against Chicago. And who do you think is more likely to take an 80-yard touchdown? Who's more likely to house it from the 50-yard line or whatever. So $3,900, I'm taking a big swing on Marvin Mims. And if that hits, I think my lineup hits as well.
I am so glad you took Mims because I had him in my lineup all day going back and forth. And then I actually ended up going the Tank Dell approach, and I had to get him out for other reasons. And I had to do that because I had to get my guy Pity City in here. I had to flex him.
Nice.
I'm perfectly comfortable with Richardson as a quarterback. I mean, and I'm looking at this. I think he's wide receiver 12 right now. I mean, he's somewhere right in there, and why not? You know, and I'm looking at my lineup. I got a lot of volatility in there. I went cheap on a few things, but I did take your advice, and that's, you know, when you spend the big money, you got to make sure it's there, and that's why I went Herbert and Allen that's where I spent my money. You know, it was just like give me that for another week, and I'll ride it. So I wish you good luck, sir. I like the tip of the week. Anything else you want to tell these sickos? I mean, dude, this chat group, by the way, I love you guys. You keep me you crack me up. It's an awesome group. I hope everybody that's listening to this just joins in.
No, that's cool, man. We can let it go. Yeah, just the last thing about that injecting volatility, that kind of answers your question earlier about what happens if you just try to get off of these like chalky games. When the chalk hits, you're not going to cash. So put those chalky players in there. They're good chalky plays for a reason, but it's these volatile pieces that you put around them that are going to make or break you.
I wish I knew that an hour ago before I made this bet. I'll tell you that right now. Dude, that's awesome. But one thing on lineups too, injury happens or players out, you can obviously switch him for your bet. I know Everett's been sick all week. He practiced today, so he should play, but we should be good. All right, guys, everybody, good luck. Cassidy, seriously, thank you for taking your time on your vacation. And Smitty, let's say goodbye to Smitty right there.
Bye, Smitty.
Cheers. Thanks for joining us, Smitty. We really appreciate it. It's only the second damn podcast. Cheers, everybody. I wish everyone good luck, but you, Cassidy.